We finally have some news regarding the next big thing that's coming to Raid. We know every couple of months, more or less every 3 months, Plarium does one of these campaigns. End of last year was the Odin and Loki, like Osgard Divide, I think it was called. That was end of last year. Beginning of this year, we started with Alice in Wonderland. After a couple of months, I think it ended, it was like something from like January to March, something like that. Then we started with the Festival of Creation and Fabian and the New Fusion and the Community Weeks, and this is the next big thing that they called the Chaos Arrives. Let's have a look at it. Hi, Senda here and welcome to another Raid video. In this case we have some prime information ahead of time. All this content was embargoed until right now that you're able to see this video, and I have some really interesting information. Instead of having it in the game, because we don't have anything in the game yet, let's have a look at what Plarium sent us content creators for sharing with you, to explain you a bit, and this is more or less what they sent us every time there is one of these campaigns. Here that we have it, info deck campaign, this art at the background is super cool, we're gonna see what this champion is, and as you can see this content is embargoed until now. We couldn't say or disclose any of this information until now. There's a couple of cool things. We know every couple of months again this new dungeon, event dungeon that we have in game opens and closes with different bosses, with different mechanics, and in there we can get the pinpoint set, which is a really powerful one. So that new dungeon, this event dungeon, is opening its gates again. What Plarium is telling us here is that the event dungeon is back, and this time a brand new mythical champion will be featured as the dungeon boss. This is the first time it happened. The first time I think we had Odin. In the first campaign of the year we had a Queen of Hearts, and it's been closed since then. Now we're putting a mythical champion, which means it's kind of two champions or a boss in two. You're going to be fighting in one form, and at some point it's going to change, it's going to nuke us, then it's going to change again, and it's going to be an interesting battle for sure. And here is telling us that for the first time, giving raiders a chance to fight two-face boss, Kurosa the Covetous. That's the name of the new champion. Despite being a support type champion in her base form, her abilities can scale of attack, which she also fully utilizes in her alternate form as an attack nuker. This is really interesting because we're going to see that she's able to do something that no one else can do, which is healing, well, healing based of attack or scaling of attack. I think Raglin is able to do it, she's the only one. But in this case, Kurosa, she's able to heal scaling of attack and placing shields scaling of attack, so it's a very interesting combo. During the fight, players will need to adapt their teams in order to push through Kurosa's defensive buffs, which she brings something interesting and something new, in the base form, which she uses to protect not only herself but her allies as well, and at the same time, players have to account for her hard-hitting nukes in the alternate form. And we can see, or we're gonna see in a second, that she also is able to some powerful nukes. Also, being Forged in Flames, Kurosa is now better protected from HP burn debuffs compared to previous bosses. And this, they added it because in some of the rotations with the previous bosses we were able to just place shitloads of HP burns, activate HP burns and blow out the boss, and in this case they released a counter to that. She will only take 1% of her max HP as HP burn damage, unique to her event dungeon boss roll. So this is only gonna apply when you're fighting in the dungeon and not with the champion on its own. This champion, first of all, we don't know how to get her. I highly doubt that they're gonna give her for free. I highly doubt that she's gonna be a fusion. I think she's just gonna be added to the rest of the pool of champions, and that's about it. With Plarium, or with this, especially with these events, I always rather staying in the worst case scenario just to be safe and avoid having my expectations too high. Your go-to strategy will be to bring strong support champions with no downtime on shields and healing, which means like with very fast cooldowns or increasing the duration of shields or the size of shields, something like that, on top of shitloads of heals, to protect the team from big nukes and powerful DDs, so damage dealers, to deal with Kurosa herself and her subjects. Kurosa will feature two new buffs, so she is the first champion able to bring or to utilize these two buffs. One is Fortify that reduces any enemy ignore defense effects by 15 or 25%, and Shatter, which increases a champion's ignore defense effects by 7.5 or 15%. So the defensive, we can lower 25% of the ignoring defense of the incoming damage, and with the Shatter, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to increase by a bit less. 7.5 is not much, and 15% is not too much either, but I guess it all adds up to like sets and masteries and so on, and it's going to be a powerful buff for damage dealers. So here we can see the champion, the base form in one side, the alternate form in the other side. Here they also show us the pinpoint set that we already know them. We already have some champions with them because it's not the first time they appear, but they only drop in this dungeon specific, event dungeon specific. Then also with this new campaign, we're gonna get 8 new relics. These 8 new relics are going to be part of the relic group, part of the event, which we can see which ones we have inside the Forge, Relic Crafting, Relic Index, and we have them here. The only 2 we had were the Alice's Adventure. Here they're going to have another name, or they're going to redo the screen somehow, but they're going to be added here. They're only going to be able to be summoned using the parts or the fragments that belong to the event group of relics. I guess we'll be able to get any of these new ones, but also since these ones are also in the event tab, I'm guessing we'll also have a chance to be able to craft these 2 again. But like I said, until this is not in the game, we are just speculating and we don't know the 100% official information because we haven't been told. But these are going to be the 8 new ones, 2 mythical, 2 legendary, 2 epic, and 2 rare relics. We also have something, we have here like a massive cliffhanger that they say an upcoming campaign. By campaign they don't mean like campaign mode, but campaigns on overall, like the Osgore Divide, the Alice's Adventure. This is a campaign. In this case, this is the Chaos Unleashed or something with the fires and this champion and the new dungeon. So it's telling us an upcoming campaign will feature a brand new collaborative type of event. This is new, in which collective efforts of all players is necessary to reach a shared goal. More details will be shared soon. So this is a massive cliffhanger. We don't know what this is about. I guess we'll know more information in the coming days. We'll have a bit more of information of what do we need to do, what are the rewards, what are the other prices. I expect also at some point some sort of new login champion, something like that. We had Alice in the first part of the year. We had the Udex Arthur with the second campaign. Next week or the week after, we're already entering June, which is kind of half of the year. So I would expect something along the lines of new login champion or something like that. Also, Fusion in like 2 weeks. I don't know if Ishiyama is still active, but it should be ending really soon if it's not ended already. And normally they give us 1 week of rest and they drop the new Fusion. Here we have champion. Let's have a quick look at the both forms because it's pretty interesting. They're both quite powerful. I don't know yet how hard hitter is this second form of this alternate form, but I know this main form or the base one is gonna be definitely hard to kill because has a lot of things in the kit that look really powerful. We start with an A1 that's telling us attack all enemies, heals all allies, and the value of the heal is proportional to this champion's attack. Like I said, we're gonna have to put loads of attack in her, and somehow that's gonna transition into more positive things for this form and also extra attack on the second form. The only issue I see is that, okay, if we just put shitloads of attack on the champion as it is, we're gonna also need certain defense because we cannot tank with attack. So even though all her skills, like in this case healing, then we have an A2 that removes all debuffs, we place increased attack, we place shield, and this shield is proportional to this champion's attack. That's all good and well. However, if we're supposed to be a tank that is putting shields and is putting heals, and we have 1,000 points of defense, we're going to be eating ground. I mean, we're going to be on the floor all the time because we're going to be dying. So it's something to definitely consider when either facing her or building her in case you are lucky enough to pull her. Then we have an A3, places a taunt on herself on a 25% 45, which this is one we've seen that it reduces the incoming decrease defense effects on whoever champion has this 45. So she applies these two on herself and also places an unkillable on all allies except on this champion. So she's able to make all the team unkillable every 4 turns. So it's very similar to, I was gonna say very similar to a Rosh card, which is 2 turns every 4 turns. However, she is not able to apply the unkillable to herself. She just fortify and taunt. So it's gonna be a bit of a tricky one as well because she can die. Then the metamorph that all mythical champions have, and in terms of passive, the passive effect is really powerful. Receives a 15% less damage for each active ally, which means like if it's herself and 4 other allies, so a team of 5 in total, she's gonna be reducing 60% the incoming damage. I think this is the key to being able of building her with like 6,000-7,000 attack, 2,000 defense, because she's going to be able to reduce by a lot the incoming damage thanks to this passive. This is just a passive effect, so it's active all the time. And as an active effect, instantly transform this champion into their alternate form whenever their last living ally is killed. So if she's the only one alive and another champion or the last ally dies, she automatically is going to change to the nuking form, which is this one over here, and then an ally attack aura of 35% in all battles, so not bad. Then second form, and this is also a bit tricky, but this is going to be that all-in attack, all-in hits. First of all, Destroyer of All is the name of the skill, attacks one enemy 3 times. If this attack kills an enemy, deals pure damage to all other enemies. Normally pure damage means we ignore 100% of defense. We know other champions that have similar things like that, like Baron for example, or Baron on the A3 or on the E4, like this secret Skies Piercer skill that is very powerful. It also deals pure damage, so this is normally really powerful. Then it says if the other enemies are not bosses or minions, so for example arena or waves, the amount of pure damage dealt is equal to 30% of the initial target's max HP. This is not that much. I mean, like I said, we have to see it in action, but for example, let's say we kill a champion that has 100k HP. This means that 30% of this 100,000 HP is going to be around 30,000. So just hitting by 30,000 all the other enemies is not that much. If the other enemies are bosses or minions, the pure damage dealt is equal to 10% of their max HP instead, and this attack cannot be critical. I understand that the attack that cannot be critical is this extra damage, which is pure to all the other enemies. But again, we don't have more information than this, and we'll have to try it and check it and to know exactly how this works. Then on her A2, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, steals all buffs from the enemies. This is pretty cool, cleanse. Then targets which attack is lower than this champion's attack cannot resist this effect, which means we don't need to build her with accuracy at all, because I understand that she's gonna have quite a high attack. Also places a 25% weaken on all enemies, and targets whose attack is equal or to lower this champion, equal to or lower than this champion's attack, cannot resist this effect. Same thing. If we don't need accuracy on her, we just need shitloads of attack. On her A3, places a 15% shatter, which I'm guessing is the powerful one. It's a 15% increase instead of a 7.5%, and a 30% increase crit rate. Again, a very good thing, because we can only build her, I mean, we only need 70%. It's very similar to the Calamitus that received a rework recently, also has some inbuilt crit rate. Well, not exactly the same. I was thinking, for example, Queen Eva or Calamitus, but they don't need the buff. She needs the buff, which it's up to a certain point is viable to just build her with 70% and think of getting this extra 30% here. She will apply both buffs on this champion for 3 turns, places a true fear on all enemies for 1 turn, targets which attack is equal or to or lower, they cannot resist it, and grants an extra turn. So if we start with this and we only build her with 70%, we're going to be able to just apply this increased rate for 3 turns, and we can build her with 70%, and that's it. Then it changes forms, and the passive Vile Murderess Murderers deals a 15% more damage to each for each dead ally, which is good up to a certain extent, and each critical hits boosts this champion turn meter by 10% for each dead ally. Basically, it works much better, or she's much more powerful when there's dead allies. This is mainly intended, for what I understand, to be faced in the dungeon. I mean, in the dungeon it's going to be much easier to get rid of the minions than to kill the boss straight away. If we do that in this dungeon, she's going to be hitting us by a lot more, and also increasing her turn meter by also a lot. So it's going to be a very tricky balance of we cannot kill them all at once, or we kind of need to leave them alive and focus on her instead. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but it's going to be dangerous if we start killing all the minions, leaving her alive. And then again, the same aura as we've seen before. I think that's all the information I have. This is all the information Plarium sent us. As soon as I have anything else or new information or new data, I'm gonna share it on the channel, of course. But for now, this is all we know. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I'll leave over here a recommended one, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.